Hello, guys, and welcome to the last review of our sci-fi week. Now, originally I was going to do Silent Running, but I watched Interstellar the other night, and I reviewed that, and I loved it so much. So I thought I'm going to revisit one of my favourite sci-fi films of all time, which is quite similar to Interstellar, and it's the film with Jodie Foster in Contact. Now, this came out, I believe, in the 90s. I can't remember now. Oh, it might be the early 2000s, so it could be the late 90s. But it stars Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey, and John Hurt and James Woods. Got quite a big cast. And the story isn't too dissimilar to Interstellar. We meet Ellie, who's a young girl, and her dad, and she's into sort of science and to astrology and all this sort of looking at the stars and planets and things like this. And her dad sadly passes away when she's young. Her mother died at childbirth, so she was sort of like orphaned at the age of 9. Now she was her and her dad were like this close, and they spent hours listening to radio transmissions and looking up at the stars, at shooting stars and things like this. And we meet her grown up, and she's played by Jodie Foster, and she's still into her science, and she's listening. She's listening out in space for any sort of transmissions from extraterrestrial life, from other sort of galaxies and planets and things like this. But she's struggling. She's struggling to get funding from all sorts of projects, because a lot of these think this is a bit of a waste of time, looking for something they could never ever find. And she meets Palmer, who's played by Matthew McConaughey, and he's like a sort of, not priest as such, but he's very sort of like a man of the cloth, and they befriend each other, but they go their separate ways, as he's interested in Ellie, but she's not interested in him. She's so wrapped up in her work. Anyway, she's in Puerto Rico, but she loses her funding. It gets pulled under, so she approaches this big business called, I think it's called Haddon, I think, and the boss of that business is John Hurt. And she manages to get the funding from him to carry on with her work, listening out in space. But even that is running out of time, because she's then relocated to New Mexico with these big sort of like, with all the big sort of like antennas and big sort of dishes, you know, the sort of like, and where she sort of tunes them all to different places in space, looking for signals, with no luck whatsoever. But then, like I said, she comes upon more bad luck, and she's gonna have to give this up because of they've lost the control of these big antennas, and so she's only got 3 months left. And then we sort of get to a point where one night she's sitting on her car by all these big sort of dishes outside, listening, and then we hear the noise coming, and it's almost like a sort of pulsation sort of noise, like a sort of and it gets louder and louder and louder, and then finally she hears it and picks it up, and they pick it up, and she radios through to her team, and they're researching where it's all coming from, and they realise it's not coming from this planet, and they think it's coming from a galaxy system called Vega. And so they think they found a communication from a different life force in this galaxy of Vega. So then the government and everybody's all interested all of a sudden, and all of them trying to stake their claim, and it's their project and stuff like this. But we all know this is Ellie's work, and they sort of break down the communication of this noise, and they even get a visual of it, where we get like they've managed to break down the visual code from it, where we get Adolf Hitler at the Olympics in Berlin, because that apparently in history that was the first satellite beamed transmission into space was that Olympics thing, because he was trying to show the Germans sort of like Germany's kind of power that they've got, and that was the first sort of thing that's beamed into space. So this planet has beamed it back down to us. But within this, there's another hidden code in which they find, and Eddie finds, to go and find where this extraterrestrial, or where this communication is coming from. So how is that going to break down? Is it going to be a spaceship? Is it going to be a code to get through to them? Or what is it going to be? Whatever it is, you need to watch it and find out. This is an amazing film. It's an essential watch. It's a 10 out of 10 straight away. I'm not going to score it any less because it's incredible. It's an amazing film. It's a heartwarming and heart-wrenching and heartbreaking story, all in one, because there's emotional stories going on with the loss of her dad, and sort of like relationships, and you see her struggling to get funding to get these things done. The government making it hard and putting the carpet under her all the time, and she's just trying to figure out what this is. But say John Hurt, who's the boss of this company, he lives in pretty much an aeroplane. He only comes down to fuel and takes off again, and he has sussed out this code, and so that's where we are at that time. And I'm not going to tell you anymore because I want you to watch this because it's phenomenal. It's an extremely slow burn film. It does last for about 2.5 hours, but it flies by, and you need that to explain this story. And I like it so much. It's just a wonderful, wonderful film. And it turns out to a completely different ending than you'd never think. And it's absolutely incredible. The pluses of this edition, it's only on Blu-ray. This is a generic one. It's been out by Warner Brothers. It's never had any other release on Blu-ray than this. But it still looks really good. It looks really, really cool. And this you can pick up, guys, for about £6 on Amazon. Buy it. It's an essential buy. The cast is amazing. It's really well acted. And it plays out, like I said, like a real gripping sort of story thriller. You could probably watch it over a couple of nights if 2.5 hours is a long viewing for you. I like to watch it in one sitting because it grips me, and I like things like that. Just like Interstellar, which is 3 hours long, that gripped me. And it's just really wow. And when you watch this, you can see all the influence that Christopher Nolan must have got for Interstellar, because sometimes there's some little things sort of compare to each other. We're both trying to find out this things in space and stuff like this. It all sort of quite similar, but this is absolutely amazing. It's a sci-fi classic in my personal opinion. You might not think so, but I think it is. Contact, 10 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below. It's been out many years. Probably most of you probably seen this. A lot of you probably turned it off halfway through because it's quite a long film and it's a slow burn. But no, watch it because it just takes a real sort of turn, and it's just like you're praying and hoping that Ellie finds what she's looking for. Cheers, guys.